Today, RockShox is releasing a whole bunch of updates and upgrades to their suspension lineups. First up, we have a red ZEB that everyone has been waiting for with a Charger 3.1 damper inside and little upgrade kits to upgrade your Charger 3 to the new 3.1.
For the rear suspension, they've got the new Vivid Coil. The Vivid Air was super popular, so now a lot of the same features are packed in a coil shock. And there's also updates to the Super Deluxe Air shock, so new internals, and you're also able to upgrade your previous generation Super Deluxe Air to the new one for not that much money. So let's check it all out. There's a lot to unpack here, and stay tuned, you're going to hear about this.
Like you saw in the intro, RockShox is releasing a whole bunch of updates and upgrades to their suspension lineup. RockShox knows that what they have is already really, really good, but big improvements take little improvements over time, and in true RockShox fashion, here we are. We got some baggies of parts to upgrade what you have, or upgrade to a totally new component. Tor has been knee-deep in technical information the past few days on all this stuff, and if you are watching this video here, chances are you're watching our channel because of all this little nitty-gritty tech detailed stuff that Tor is going to present to you. We're going to start with the big stuff, the fork and the shock, the Vivid Coil, and then we're going to get into the little bags of parts. So Tor, take it from here. Let's talk about this red fork. Before we look at that red fork, I just wanted to swing by from my desk while I'm editing this video here and mention that if you need any mountain bike parts or accessories for your bike, you can find pretty much everything you need at our website, thelostco.com. We've got pretty quick shipping, free shipping over 49 bucks in the USA, and we have tons of expertise under this roof here. So if you have any compatibility questions or need recommendations on parts, just hit us up. We'll answer all your questions for you. And in the meantime, let's get back to the video.
That's right. The red fork is actually really similar to the old one. It uses the exact same chassis as the previous ZEB, and so all the parts that are in this fork actually fit inside. If you've got, the previous generation ZEB, they're all going to fit right in there. The air spring is identical. We're still using the same Debonair Plus air spring with the buttercups on the bottom to, reduce all the vibrations. And then in the lower leg, something that's new is some updated bushings, which are going to be reducing friction and also giving a more consistent feel across different forks. And another thing that's new, probably the biggest thing, is going to be the Charger 3.1 damper, which uses pretty much the same architecture as the Charger 3 damper. Essentially, all of the techniques and how it's constructed are all very similar. The biggest difference is going to be the range of adjustability. This is an incremental gain over the Charger 3 damper, and it's going to be great for riders who are looking for a wider range of compression relative to the Charger 3. You're going to have opportunity to run less compression damping as well as more compression damping. And there's the same number of clicks in the Charger 3.1, but a wider range for each of them. So each click is going to make a more discernible difference on the trail. And so it's gonna be a little easier to, notice exactly what's changing your fork when you're on the trail side and kind of fiddling with your knobs.
The Charger 3.1 is also less damped than the Charger 3 in the middle compression settings. This is where they'll be set right out of the box. And this is what RockShox recommends as the starting point for riders. Both of us here are pretty excited to see how that feels since we're pretty happy with our Charger dampers right near those middle compression settings. There's also some new techie bits and bobs on the inside to help reduce friction and increase traction over the Charger 3, like a stiffer IFP coil spring, new mid-valve check spring, and some new high-flow compression circuitry.
Yeah, the whole thing has just been essentially replumbed to have less friction in the system and give you opportunity to run less damping, but then also opportunity to close it down more to run more damping in case you're, looking for some more support out there.
We just got this new stuff and haven't had a chance to ride it yet, but from what we've heard from the folks at RockShox who test everything, the decreased friction and damping in the damper combined with the new bushings makes a pretty noticeable performance upgrade. We're pretty excited to get this new fork on the trail and hopefully give you guys a more in-depth review a little later.
And as far as who's going to benefit more from the Charger 3.1 damper, it's going to be those people who are already either totally closed or totally open in the compression circuits and are looking for a bit more adjustability either way. So if you're like a super light rider or you're a super heavy rider who, you just need more performance out of your fork in either one of those directions, the Charger 3.1 damper is definitely going to be a big upgrade over the Charger 3 damper.
This Charger 3.1 damper is going to come in any 2025 Ultimate Series RockShox fork, including the Pike, the Lyrik, the ZEB, or the Boxxer. The Charger 3.1 will also be offered as a standalone damper upgrade kit, you could say. And that means that you can drop in this 3.1 as an upgrade to any of your other RockShox fork that was compatible with the Charger 3. So any RockShox ZEB, and then the Charger 3 models of the Lyrik, the Pike, and the Boxxer. And while we're on the subject, baggy parts right here.
Yep.
Bunch of little doodads, I would call them. This is something that I think is gonna be a huge hit. This is the Charger 3.1 damper upgrade kit to update your Charger 3 to have the increased range of adjustability and also the reduced friction and compression damping. This kit includes all of the new updated little internal pieces needed to upgrade your Charger 3, and we recommend doing this while you're having a full service performed on your Charger 3 damper, since you'll already have the damper fully torn down. These are relatively cheap at just 75 bucks for the kit, which really isn't a huge cost for a bump in performance when you're already paying for a full damper service. This is not anything different than we've seen in the past. When the Charger 2 came out, then they updated it to the Charger 2.1. So, you know, true RockShox fashion, just kind of keeping up with the times and keeping everybody happy.
Another option is they're offering a custom shim tuning kit. And so there's going to be the standard compression tune that comes in all of the Charger 3.1 forks. And there's also going to be a heavy compression tune that you're going to be able to install aftermarket. If you take it into someone like the Losco and you want to get it rebuilt during your 200-hour damper service, we can go ahead and change the tune. There's also rebound tuned options. So there's a light, medium, and a firm tune. The medium tune comes in there. And I've heard that for lighter riders especially, getting that lighter rebound tune in there actually is a total game changer. We've heard some reports from a few riders who have gotten their hands on this stuff super early and have played around with the custom tunes. That's made a really big difference for them. And so, yeah, that's another option. That kit, the tuning kit, is also compatible with the Charger 3 damper. And so if you're a lighter rider who's got the Charger 3 damper, that's another option for you. I would super recommend getting that lighter rebound tune and yeah, being able to use more of the travel of your fork a little more effectively. And yeah, it's cool that RockShox is actually making the new tuning kit for the 3.1 damper also compatible with the previous Charger 3 damper.
Long story short, there's a whole bunch of options to customize your damper to better suit you and better optimize your settings and performance on the trail. If you just have an aspect of your current RockShox Charger 3 damper that you're not 100% stoked with, just email or call us and we will kind of give you the options and present those to you and let you know what route might be the best way to go.
All right, one super, well, relatively small change is actually in the Pike. The air spring of the Pike is getting a small upgrade. The negative air spring of the Pike is somehow getting hollowed out and it's gonna have a larger volume negative air spring. And so it's gonna be a little more supple off the top and just give you a little more traction and just another incremental upgrade for the Pike. That new air spring is compatible with the previous generation Pike. So if you've got one of those, you can just drop it in and look at that. You've got the brand new Pike in your bike. Pike in your bike.
Pike in your bike, baby. All right, moving on from the fork to the rear end of the bike. We have the new Vivid Coil. In my hand here is the Vivid Ultimate Coil. And basically what this is doing is it's kind of just replacing the Super Deluxe Coil. If you have been looking to buy a RockShox coil shock for the past several months, you probably noticed that the Super Deluxe Coil is basically sold out in every popular size for like months now, and that's because the Vivid Coil is coming out and it's basically replacing the Super Deluxe. So honestly, when this is in your hand, it looks and feels almost identical to a Super Deluxe coil shock. The main difference that you'll notice is that the rebound knob sticks out a little bit farther. That's because it is removable, just like the Vivid Air Shock, and that is so that you can use it to adjust the high-speed compression and the hydraulic bottom out. Other than that, looks very, very similar and shares a very similar architecture as the Super Deluxe Coil. And yeah, the big upgrade here is that you have the touchdown technology that is featured in the Vivid Air Shock, which is kind of like a industry-leading air shock at the moment. People definitely love this thing. It's been crushing it. And so I think the move from Super Deluxe Coil to Vivid Coil just makes sense. You know, when you see Vivid, you think ultimate downhill descending performance. And so that's what the Vivid is gonna bring to you. So Tor, take over here.
Like Mike was saying, there's really not that many differences between this shock and the Super Deluxe Coil. Physically, they're pretty much exactly the same shape and size. Any bike that the Super Deluxe Coil fits in, the Vivid Coil is going to fit in just perfectly. The Vivid has the touchdown technology, just like on the Vivid Air, which is basically going to bypass all of the compression damping in the first 10% of the stroke of the shock, so that when you touch down from a jump, that first little bit of stroke is going to be extra supple. And then it's also got the adjustable hydraulic bottom mount, which occurs in the last 20% of the stroke. And so you're gonna have 5 clicks of adjustment there. This is just like on the Super Deluxe Coil and on the Vivid. So you'll be able to tune that and tune exactly how, bottoming out your bike feels. And yeah, that's about it for the new Vivid. There isn't really that many changes to it, but it's just some more incremental upgrades on the Super Deluxe Coil, kind of combining the best of both worlds from the Super Deluxe Coil and the Vivid Air into what's now our new favorite RockShox Coil Shock. One more thing I forgot to mention about the new Vivid Coil is a new bottom-out bumper. And these are actually gonna be stroke-specific bottom-out bumpers. So shorter stroke shocks are gonna have a slightly smaller bottom-out bumper. Yeah, just another incremental upgrade. This on itself isn't a huge change, but you add them all together and you get a new cool coil shock.
And one other very, very small detail here, all of the red coil springs are gonna be updated to the new electric red color.
The new red is a little more sparkly. It looks more like a nail polish than the old red was just kind of flat. But then this one's got some more texture to it. It's got some sparkles, it's got some shine to it. So it's a little more flashy, just so you know what you're getting yourself into. Yeah,
Hot
seriously.
rod, baby. All right, now let's move on to the Super Deluxe Air Shock because there's some updates going on here. I'm gonna hand it over to Tor. Talk about it.
Right on. Well, I gotta be totally honest with you guys. This is actually not the new Super Deluxe Air Shock, but there's pretty much no visual differences besides a little silver band that's gonna be around the reservoir of the new Super Deluxe Air, and some updated graphics. This lock is gonna say closed instead of a picture of a lock. Some pretty small potatoes on the outside. On the inside is what matters. We're gonna have a wider range of adjustability for both the low speed and the high speed compression, which is super similar to what's going on with the Charger 3.1. They've kind of got the same design philosophy going on there. There's an updated main flow piston, which is just gonna generally have less compression than the previous generation, and that's just to give you a little more grip, a little more traction, a little easier to get the shock moving in its travel. And there's also a new, let me check my notes here, a lighter rebound check plate, which is gonna prevent rear wheel hangups. And that's essentially gonna allow the shock to change directions a little bit smoother as it's going from compressing to rebounding. The low speed compression did get changed. They've changed the shaft speed at which the low speed compression is relevant in. And so before, the low speed compression was making a difference when you were squishing it in a parking lot, which was not really a realistic shaft speed on trail. Now the low speed compression is gonna affect a higher shaft speed. And so when you're going through a corner or pumping through a jump, that's where the low speed compression is gonna be a little more effective. And so turning the low speed compression knob is gonna make a more noticeable difference in those moments on trail. That's gonna be one of the biggest updates to the new Super Deluxe Air. And yeah, we've also got options for this new Linear XL Air Can. This is something that looks really similar to an old RockShox product, the Megneg, but it's actually totally different. The Megneg increased the negative air volume. This is increasing the positive air volume, and the idea behind this is it's gonna make it feel more like a mini Vivid, if you will. That larger air volume is gonna give you a more linear air shock and kind of get closer to a coil shock, but still have that progression that an air shock is known for. So this is gonna be a cool option for someone who's got the Super Deluxe Air, but they want to play with a more linear feel. This is also compatible with the previous generation, and yeah, it's just another option that RockShox is giving us to kind of customize what we've already got and just kind of play with our suspension a little bit more, which is something that we're really excited about. Just like with the forks, you're also able to upgrade your previous gen Super Deluxe, the C1 model, to the new C2 model without buying a whole new shock. To do that, you're gonna need a few things. You're gonna need the high flow piston kit, which allows the shock to make the handoff between compressing and rebounding a little bit more smooth. You'll also need a new shim stack, which is sold separately, and the updated RC2T reservoir for the updated low speed compression valving. The high flow piston upgrade kit costs just 40 bucks, and that's something that we're definitely gonna recommend to all riders when they're getting their Super Deluxe C1 damper serviced, because it's just gonna give everyone better suspension performance across the board. The updated RC2T damper is a little bit more pricey. It costs 230 bucks, but it is gonna make your low speed compression adjuster far more useful than before. And again, if you're looking for maximum performance without getting a whole new shock, I think it's definitely worth the upgrade. Just like on the previous generation Super Deluxe, there are quite a few spec levels. This is the Ultimate. There's also the Select Plus, the Select, and just the base Super Deluxe. The only difference between them is the reservoir hanging off the sides, which is actually an upgradable part. You're able to buy the RC2T reservoir and go ahead and bolt it to the side of any one of those shocks and bring it up to the Ultimate spec, and it's gonna be exactly the same as the Ultimate level Super Deluxe. The same is true for the Vivid Coil. There's all the same levels of Vivid Coil, and you just have to buy that reservoir, bolt it on, and boom, you've got a Vivid Coil Ultimate for, way cheaper than buying a whole new shock, which is pretty sweet. Also, due to popular demand, all aftermarket Super Deluxe shocks now have HBO. This was originally an optional feature on the previous gen C1 Super Deluxe, and it was mostly found on some complete bikes that were pretty linear, and it was hard to find an HBO Super Deluxe aftermarket, so it's pretty cool that that's a standard feature now. The function of the HBO feature itself has not changed at all. It adds compression in the last 20% of the travel, and it's not adjustable like it is on the Vivid shocks, but still pretty sweet feature that's going to take the edge off of some big hits.
All right, well, there's a lot to unpack there, but that's all of the new updates, big and small, from RockShox for 2025. I'm most excited about these little guys, make your Super Deluxe feel more vivid-y. I think that's going to be a popular one. Tor, what are you most excited about?
Well, red's my favorite color, so it's pretty obvious. But we're excited to hear about what you guys are excited for in the comments section. We're gonna have all this stuff in stock at our website, thelostcode.com. Once it's in stock, it's gonna take a little bit for it to hit the supply chains and then for us to send it out. So just keep an eye out for that. And until then, hit the subscribe button, watch more of our videos, hit the like button if you enjoyed this one, and we're gonna see you guys later.
Peace.